All right, let's talk about something we've all been through. You know that feeling? You finish a mix, you listen back, and you're feeling pretty good about it, but something's just not right. Well, today, we're going to walk through 3 huge mixing mistakes I used to make all the time. Think of it as me sharing my battle scars so you can hopefully avoid some of them.
Man, this quote just nails it, doesn't it? Because that's the thing. There's zero shame in not knowing something. The whole journey is about going from clueless to clued in. And my story starts right at that point. A total beginner, full of excitement, but with absolutely no idea what I was doing.
So, picture it. It's the mid-2000s. I'm in my room making my very first recordings. It was super simple stuff. Just me, my guitar, a microphone for vocals, and this little drum machine. And you know what? I was so proud. I was like, wow, I can actually create a whole song by myself. I took it to my guitar teacher, all excited, and he listened. And then he said the 6 words that totally changed my world. You should try using some compressors. My first thought was, what in the world is a compressor?
And yeah, that brings us right to the first big one. Mistake number 1. This thing he called a compressor. I'd never heard of it, but I became obsessed with figuring it out. And that was really my first taste of just how deep the rabbit hole of audio production goes.
So why did I even need this thing? Well, this right here gets to the absolute heart of the problem. In my songs, you could barely hear the quiet, whispered vocal parts, but then the loud, belted-out parts would just jump out of the speakers and hurt your ears. The dynamics were all over the map. I was trying to fix it by drawing in volume automation by hand, which, let me tell you, was just a total nightmare. It never sounded natural.
So I jump into my software, I find a compressor plugin, and I immediately start messing with the only 2 knobs that made any sense to me: ratio and threshold, right? How much it squashes the sound and when it starts squashing. Easy enough, but that other stuff, attack and release, I had no idea what they did, so I just left them alone. I was literally using only half the tool without even realizing it.
And this was the aha moment. It wasn't until I finally got curious enough to actually look up what attack and release did that the heavens parted. Realizing I could control the timing, how fast the compressor grabs on and how slowly it lets go, it wasn't just a small tweak, it was everything. All of a sudden, I could make a snare drum punchy or make a vocal smooth, all on purpose. It was incredible.
Okay, so I was feeling pretty good. I had conquered compression. But that confidence didn't last very long, because my next big challenge was equalization, or EQ. I knew what it was supposed to do, shape the tone, but actually using it felt like pure chaos. And that brings us to mistake number 2.
This quote, this is exactly how it felt. I'd pull up an EQ, see that colorful graph with all the little dots and knobs, and I'd just start clicking and dragging stuff around. I'd boost a frequency here, cut one there, and think to myself, well, that sounds different, I guess. I had no plan, no goal. I was just totally lost at sea. And then I found what I thought was the answer to all my problems. An EQ cheat sheet, just like this one. It felt like I'd found a secret treasure map. Need punch in your kick? Just boost 80 Hz. Need more click? Boost 8 kHz. It seemed so simple. I thought I'd cracked the code and started using these magic numbers on everything. But here was the massive, glaring flaw in my plan. I was so obsessed with following the recipe on the cheat sheet that I forgot the most important part, to actually taste the ingredients first. I mean, I wasn't listening to the original sound. What if my kick drum was already too boomy at 80 Hz? Well, by boosting it more, I was just turning it into a muddy, awful mess. And that's when I learned the real solution. It wasn't a better cheat sheet, it was a skill. It was developing my ear through critical listening. It's about training yourself to hear a sound and identify the problem before you even touch a knob. To be able to say, that guitar sounds a little boxy, probably around 400 Hz, or that vocal needs a bit more hair. Your ears have to be the guide, not some random chart you found online.
Okay, so I'm getting better with dynamics, I'm getting better with tone, but my songs still didn't have that power, that commercial loudness. And this drove me straight into the arms of the biggest, most common, and most destructive mistake of them all, my very own personal loudness war.
This was the question that kept me up at night. I'd put on my favorite records, hard rock, metal, whatever, and they just sounded massive. Everything was loud, but it was also super clear and punchy. Then I'd play my mix, and it just sounded small and weak. I was desperate to figure out how they did it. So this was my genius plan.
My logic was, well, a limiter makes things louder, right? So more limiters must make things even louder. I'd literally put a limiter on the snare drum. Then I'd put another one on the kick drum, and then for the grand finale, I'd slap a huge limiter on the entire mix. It was just a brute force attack, with absolutely no subtlety.
And the result was, you guessed it, an absolute train wreck. It wasn't loud and punchy, it was a flat, distorted, lifeless mush. By just smashing everything with limiters, I had completely erased all the dynamics. The punch of the kick, the crack of the snare, it was all gone. You couldn't tell the instruments apart. It was just one big wall of noise.
The real breakthrough came when I discovered a totally different kind of tool, the clipper. See, instead of acting like a brick wall that flattens everything, a clipper just neatly shaves off the absolute tiniest, sharpest peaks of a sound. It's way more transparent. This meant I could get the overall volume up without destroying the punch and the life of the track. It was about using the right tool for the job, not just the biggest hammer I could find.
So, after all that fighting with compression, EQ, and loudness, what's the big lesson here? What did I actually learn from all this? It's not about a magic plugin or a secret setting. It's really about a completely different way of thinking.
And here it is. These are the real game changers. Listen first, always. Before you touch anything, just listen. And don't just learn what a tool does, learn why you'd use it and when. Stop looking for those magic cheat sheets because they don't exist. The best thing you can do is stay curious. Twist the knobs, break things, see what happens. And honestly, the most important lesson of all is that every single one of these mistakes taught me something critical. They weren't failures, they were the best teachers I ever had. And that's really what I want to leave you with. We all make a ton of mistakes when we're learning something new. But instead of getting frustrated by them, try to see them as a good thing. They are signposts on your journey. So think about it for a second. What's the one mistake you've made that actually taught you the most?